My attitude toward gold has always been pretty neutral. It's just there. It's been around forever, and people have some really strong opinions about it. But what if the whole reason it's valuable has less to do with the metal itself and way more to do with our collective psychology? Okay, let's really dive into this.
So let's just start with the biggest question right off the bat. Why is this shiny yellow metal worth trillions of dollars? I mean, we're always told it's because it's used in jewelry or in industry or that it's this super safe haven. But is that really the whole story?
Well, the real answer is actually a lot simpler and honestly, way more fascinating. It's kind of a secret that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries, and it connects ancient history all the way to the digital age.
All right, so here's the core idea we're going to unpack. Gold is a consensus asset. Its value isn't based on what it does, but on what all of us collectively believe it's worth. It's just this incredibly powerful shared agreement that has somehow lasted for millennia. A consensus asset, what does that even mean? Well, think of it like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Its value exists simply because a huge network of people all agree that it exists. And the more people who believe in it, the stronger and more stable that value actually becomes. This quote just perfectly captures the psychology, right? It's this weird recursive loop of belief. I value it because I know you value it and you feel the exact same way. And when millions and millions of people all think this at the same time, you get this incredibly powerful self-sustaining network in our heads. Now, of course, this belief didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Gold just happened to have the perfect physical properties to become the candidate for this job. It's rare, right? It doesn't rust or corrode. It's pretty easy to carry around, and you can chop it up into smaller bits without losing its value. These traits were what helped kickstart the whole consensus in the first place. A great way to think about this is like a social media platform. I mean, why don't you just quit Facebook or Instagram? Well, because all your friends are there, right? Leaving has a really high social cost. Gold works the exact same way. Nobody's going to be the first person to stand up and say it's worthless because that would mean losing their own stored value. The network itself creates this massive incentive for everyone to just stay put. Okay, so now let's tackle the biggest counterargument you always hear. This idea that gold's value really comes from its actual utility, for things like jewelry and electronics. Just think about a Hermes Birkin bag for a second. Its utility is what? To carry stuff? Based on that alone, it's worth maybe the price of the leather and thread. But its systemic value, its value as a status symbol that we've all agreed upon, is tens of thousands of dollars. The actual utility is a tiny, tiny fraction of its price. Gold is exactly the same. And that whole jewelry use argument, it gets the logic completely backward. We don't make jewelry out of gold because it's so beautiful. We think it's beautiful because it's so expensive. Its high price literally shaped our idea of what looks good. Think about it. If you could paint any cheap metal gold for a few cents, would we still want it so badly? Probably not. So, if gold's value is just this network of belief, built on things like scarcity and portability, what happens when something new comes along that is superior in every single one of those dimensions? Yeah, you know where this is going. Enter Bitcoin. Now here's the key. Don't think of these as two totally different species. It's better to think of them as two forms of the same one. Gold is the fully grown adult. It's stable, it's established, it has this super mature network. Bitcoin is the infant. It's volatile, its network is still growing, but it has the same DNA. It's still just crawling, but it has all the potential to one day run. Okay, so with that whole framework in mind, let's get practical for a minute. Given what we now know, who should actually be putting their money into gold? For the average person, if you're looking at long-term returns, gold is generally pretty unnecessary. I mean, as you can see, it has historically just failed to outperform major stock indexes or an asset like Bitcoin over long stretches. It's much more of a wealth preserver than a wealth creator. This really means there are only two types of people who should seriously consider buying gold. First, you've got the ultra-wealthy, who are using it as a portfolio anchor to hedge just massive amounts of capital. And second, there's the habitual saver, someone who genuinely enjoys owning physical gold and just buys a little bit every month, no matter what the price is. And this is a really critical warning. If you're out there trading gold like it's some kind of speculative meme stock, and you're getting anxious about every little price dip, you are using it for completely the wrong reason. Gold is a 20-year asset, not a 20-day trade. And thinking long-term means you have to understand price swings. We've seen gold and Bitcoin take some pretty sharp drops lately, so it's really important to understand why this happens, not just to them, but to all top-tier assets.
You know, people love to blame external events, Fed announcements, political news, whatever. But those things, they're just the breeze. The real reason an asset falls is because its internal structure has become unstable. When something shoots up too far, too fast, it gets fragile. It's full of people just looking to take profits. Then the slightest little breeze can knock it over. And only then do we all start looking around for a reason why.
The key thing to get here is that big corrections after a big run-up are completely, totally normal. It happens to gold, it happens to Bitcoin, and heck, it even happens to stuff like prime Manhattan real estate. This is just how quality markets work.
So when you see a major pullback in an asset that has a strong long-term consensus, it does not mean it's a scam or that it's going to zero. It's just a market cycle. The most important thing is not to be an alarmist about it.
The only crashes you truly, truly need to fear are for assets that don't represent the future. You know, things tied to a fleeting trend or a dying industry or some narrative that's just losing its appeal with the next generation. Once those things peak, they might never come back.
And that really leaves us with this one final question you have to ask yourself. When you look at what you own, is its value based on a durable, growing consensus that faces the future, or is it tied to a narrative that's slowly fading into the past? The answer to that question is everything.
Smash like and subscribe.